introduction. So yeah, as mentioned, my name is Emanuela Ponti, and I am a lecturer in Italian in the School of Modern Languages and Culture at the University of Glasgow. And I also coordinate the institution-wide language provision that our university offers. So I coordinate various other languages as well. So in my presentation today, I'm going to offer a practical showcase of how I use Mentimeter, which is a web-based application to create quizzes, polls, and surveys in an LSP Italian class that we offer here at Glasgow, and how I used it to consolidate grammar and vocabulary, and also to elicit peer feedback. So before actually starting with my presentation, I wanted to ask you, if possible, to join my presentation. So you should be able to see basically the code. If you go on menti.com using your mobile phone or perhaps your laptop or iPad and insert this code up here that you see on my slide, 18835410. You will be able to join my presentation and to interact with it. So perhaps if you want, if possible, I would ask you to join my presentation. As I said, basically all you need to do is if you put in your browser menti.com, and then you should see a line which asks you to share this code, to insert this code, which is 18835410. Okay, I see at least one participant. Okay, two participants, great, thank you so much. So basically the task here was to write a word which describe your experience at the Innovation in Language Learning Conference. And basically I just wanted you to maybe try this to show you how easy it is to join a presentation on Mentimeter. So your student would do the same to basically start these interactive activities, interactive tasks. So in terms of giving a little bit of context to my presentation, I will be focusing on my use of Mentimeter within our MEDS Italian Stage 1 course. This is a language for specific purposes course that we offer to product design students from the Glasgow School of Arts, and these students are all complete beginners in Italian. It is an intensive 5-week module. Approximately we offer 70 contact hours in total. The course takes place usually in April and May in every academic year, and then usually in September our students go to the Politecnico in Milan for their year abroad. And obviously in this type of course we have ILOs which are both general, in the sense that we focus on practical topics such as, for instance, finding accommodation, or perhaps filling out a questionnaire with your personal details when you are in an Italian university. And also obviously ILOs which are more specifically related to the field of study of our student, which is product design. Traditionally, the course it has been taking place for many years. Traditionally, we have used a booklet which was designed by us, by myself and other tutors in the past. And the course also has a Moodle platform. So on Moodle, students find additional listening and reading materials, and also they found many quizzes and H5P activities which cover grammatical and lexical points, and basically students are required to complete these quizzes and H5P exercises by the end of each week of the course. But so why Mentimeter? I started using Mentimeter. I decided to start using Mentimeter more regularly in this course basically 2 years ago, in the 2022 session, let's say a year and a half ago, more or less. After I attended a presentation in our university by our learning technologist, who basically showed us how to use Mentimeter and explained that Mentimeter was available to all staff in our university, so it was ready there to be used by us. And I was struck by how easy it would be with Mentimeter to basically design interactive question types and quiz competition. So I thought I could use it to test my student in an informal and creative way throughout the course. And obviously also it was very easily accessible by our students, so it doesn't really require very much to prepare it and to use it in class with your students. Then my decision to use Mentimeter also came from other considerations. Basically in the year 2020-2021, basically when the COVID-19 pandemic was still among us, our course ran exclusively online on Zoom. And so obviously there were some disadvantages to running the course online, but I noticed that I really enjoyed, and my students seem to enjoy using polls on Zoom to basically being tested on a range of topics, grammatical topics and lexical topics. And basically the poll function on Zoom allowed students to have a break from maybe listening to the tutor online on Zoom or to complete activities in the breakout rooms. So I thought that the poll function on Zoom was very useful. And also in previous year with my colleagues, we had noticed that our GSA student, our student from the Glasgow School of Art, who of course are not specialist language students, were a bit reluctant to complete grammatical and lexical exercises in our booklet. Feedback from students indicated that they felt sometimes a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of vocabulary and grammatical points that they had to master in the space of 5 weeks. And also, basically, they said that the feedback they were receiving on Moodle, so after completing quizzes and exercises on Moodle, was perhaps a little bit dry and a little bit too technical at times for them. So basically, I thought that using Mentimeter in this class would offer me the way to strengthen vocabulary and grammar knowledge through variation, to assess students in informal and creative ways, and also to elicit peer feedback and reflect daily on our learning in class. Basically, Mentimeter, in my opinion, is really helpful to increase student engagement in class and to encourage active participation in class. And also, basically, we used Mentimeter to provide some feedback, which was friendly, because basically was feedback provided by peers, by the students' classmates, and also feedback which hopefully was immediately intelligible, in the sense it was not too technical. It came from classmates, and so hopefully was easily understandable and useful. So in the next few slides, I will give some practical examples of how I use Mentimeter. And in the first few slides, this is how I use Mentimeter for general Italian. The types of slides I will be presenting are word cloud, multiple choice, traffic lights, and this or that. Mentimeter offers a huge variety of slides, of types of slides, but I selected these as I thought they would be perhaps the most interesting one for this type of course. So the first example is a word cloud. Normally, I use these on day one of the course. It's basically a brainstorming activity. I ask students to work in pairs or in small groups, and they need to write down, to brainstorm a few Italian words that they already know. So this is a good ice-breaking activity because obviously students work together, and basically they're immediately encouraged to be a constructor of knowledge rather than quiet receptacles. And usually students, I think they are quite surprised by the amount of words in Italian that they already know. And obviously maybe they will recognize as familiar other words that their classmates have produced in the word cloud. Normally we go through every word in the word cloud, and we can start pointing out some of the pronunciation rules that we're going to study later on in the course. And also usually we point out some of the spelling mistakes that are common among English native speakers. You can see some mistakes here, for instance. I remember a discussion last year with the students about Lucca. So Lucca, the name of the Italian city in Tuscany, and also Luca, the boy name. So some of my students thought that Lucca and Luca were spelled and pronounced in the same way, but actually they are not. So it was a sort lot of interesting discussion that raised from the word cloud. The next two examples are my use of a multiple choice quiz on Mentimeter. Basically, the grammatical focus is the use of indefinite articles, whereas the lexical focus with this presentation was the classroom objects, so objects that we find in the classroom, like for instance, in these examples here, you can see calcolatrice, calculator, and there were other examples about, for instance, book, pen, desk, screen, and so on. And so basically, again, the multiple choice gives me the opportunity to test my student informally. I'm testing grammar and vocabulary knowledge informally, and also with a little bit of variety. Multiple choice quizzes on Mentimeter, basically, you have the option to link every choice to a picture. And so, for instance, I use this type of activity to survey a little bit the mood of my students, perhaps at the start of a lesson or at the end of a lesson. Hopefully this kind of activity reduces the learning anxiety that some students may have, and it can help build trust between the tutor and the students. And Mentimeter has got a very large and, in my opinion, a very nice bank of images. So basically you can browse and select the images you're gonna use for your presentation there, and it's very easy and very simple. I try to choose some fun images so they hopefully introduce a little bit of humor, a sense of humor in the class as well. The next few slides present example of traffic lights activities. So we see the first traffic light, the second one, but also then an activity which is called this or that. So basically students have got to choose between one option or the other. I'll just go back to the first traffic lights activity. Basically here we were focusing on family, friends, and nationality. The vocabulary was all relating to these lexical areas. And then we were focusing on plural, so plural nouns, and students basically had to select, in their opinion, whether the answer was correct, yes, or maybe not, incorrect, or perhaps they were not sure about the plural here, if it was correct or not. So you can see amica, female friend, and amiche, female friends, is the correct plural. But as you can see, actually, the majority of my students selected no, so they didn't know the amiche, or well, they weren't sure whether amiche was the correct plural. And in the next one, we're focusing on nationality. So tedesco, German, tedeschi would be, tedeschi with the H would be the plural. So the answer here is incorrect. And actually most students got the right color, in the sense they selected no as the answer. Tedeschi here is not the correct plural of tedesco. And here in this or that, so this activity, this or that, we are focusing on physical descriptions of people and basically the use of adjectives, how they agree with nouns. Actually, you can see here the most of my students, 86% of them, selected the incorrect answer because the correct answer is blue. But actually, I think this is one of the benefits of Mentimeter. The activities are very flexible, very friendly, and also I think they are not judgmental. So a student basically will see their answers end up in either a majority or minority group, but this can hopefully stimulate a discussion on the point in question. For instance, a discussion here about the use of adjectives in Italian. And so basically a student ending up as well, for instance, in this group, 86% of students were in this group, hopefully will feel a little bit less lonely in their learning journey of Italian. So they will see that they are not alone in perhaps struggling a little bit with understanding the use of adjectives. And they can ask their classmates, their peers, about the adjective blue. This is invariable in Italian, so basically it agrees with all nouns. It doesn't have a gender or a number, it agrees with everything, and that's why it is the correct answer here. Gli occhi di Anna sono blu. So with the next few slides, I'm focusing again on practical examples, but basically here I use Mentimeter for specific Italian, so the content perhaps of the vocabulary here is more related to my students' main subject, which is product design. And basically the type of slides I'm going to show are type answer, true for life, and spin the wheel. As I said, again, there are many other types that you could use, but hopefully these are interesting and effective ones. So this is type the answer. We were focusing on combined preposition. So my students had to basically write down here the correct combined preposition in Italian, which is normally a tricky topic. But in terms of a lexical set, all the sentences in this PowerPoint, in this presentation, presented accessories and furniture. So basically the lexical set was all about accessories, bags, I don't know, shoes, glasses, and so on, and furniture, like you see the word here, armadio, for wardrobe. And in the next slide, this is the type of activity called spin the wheel. So when you present your slides, actually this wheel will spin and will then highlight, it will stop on one of the items, it will highlight one of the items here. Our focus here was clothing. So basically you can see all the nouns here, cravatta, tie, camicia, shirt, pantaloni, trousers, and so on. They are all relating to the clothing lexical set. And also we were focusing on fabrics. So basically the students had to work in pairs or in small groups and write down a sentence with the noun highlighted by the wheel. And then basically in the sentence, they also had to use a type of fabric. So we had studied in class this vocabulary related to clothing and fabrics. And obviously, so if I go back to the previous slides, accessories and wardrobes, furniture, and in this one, fabrics and clothing, these are topics very useful for product design students. If they go to Italy and study, obviously at the Politecnico in Milan, mastering this vocabulary will hopefully be very useful. And also actually, as they tell me in class, in some of the practical workshop, they actually design some of these items. Maybe they design a piece of clothing, they design some furniture. So obviously knowing this vocabulary in Italian is normally very interesting and useful for their field of study, their specific field of studies. And then another type of slide that I'm presenting now is basically called truth or lie. So they have to basically say whether the three options here are true or false, or actually if they're truth or lie. In this presentation, we were focusing on shapes. So in this one, for instance, you have triangle or triangle. And again, basically, we were focusing on colors in Italian. And basically, the right option here is rosa. This type of exercise is useful for product design students because we are revising shapes, triangles, squares, circles, and so on. We are revising the use of colors in Italian, but also basically it's a sort of activity that asks them to reflect not only on grammatical elements, use of adjectives, but also in a way on the ontological truth of the sentence, of the image here, because well, in Italian the triangle could be verde, could be green. Verde would make sense grammatically, but basically the only correct answer is rosa, because the image that they are seeing is showing a pink triangle. Okay, so basically it's not just about grammar, but they need to analyze in a simple way the image as well and the color that the image presents.
Emanuela, you have 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just going to finish basically with some practical examples of peer feedback received by my students in class. And basically for these, I'm using open-ended and type answer slides. So in these first slides, I'm showing feedback the students gave to each other after they had completed the pronunciation exercise. This is basically done in week 1 of the course. So after we have introduced the pronunciation rules in Italian and students were reading out together a list of words in Italian. And then basically they were asked to give their peers some advice on pronunciation. Okay, and as you can see, for instance, we have good points. There was a confusion between casa and cassa, so an interesting point about the use of a single consonant and double consonants in Italian and how differently they would be pronounced. These slides, it's about feedback on adjectives. So after we had completed an exercise on the use of adjectives and basically agreements in Italian, again, I asked a student to give each other some feedback, or basically to let us know what they had understood about the use of adjectives in Italian. And again, you can see that basically some answers perhaps are very basic and maybe a little bit incomplete, or perhaps also a bit superficial, but some other answers are very detailed. And also this one, the last example, is about a writing exercise. So basically students were writing sentences about their family or family members. They were exchanging the sentences they wrote. So basically students had to read their classmates' sentences and perhaps highlight some mistakes, some problems, and then they had to write peer feedback on their classmate written production. So as I was saying, basically some answers basically are a little bit incomplete, perhaps like saying just plurals, or maybe saying that the answer was perfect, like their classmate performance was perfect. But I believe basically every piece of feedback here actually is very useful for the whole class. Even if they just write the word plurals, hopefully this will help the class to reflect on the fact that adjectives in Italian have a number, so they can be singular or plural, unlike their counterparts in English. And so hopefully this is anyway a valid point, even if the answer here may seem a bit superficial or a bit incomplete. So basically, again, I would like to stress that I think Mentimeter can really stimulate in-class discussion, but can really make the student co-construction of knowledge, because basically by providing immediate feedback on Mentimeter, they sort of compare and discuss their knowledge, their understanding of the language together. And hopefully this is useful, especially for maybe the weaker students, the students who are struggling a little bit more with the Italian course. And so basically, well, I hope with this presentation, with the practical examples I've given, I have hopefully demonstrated that Mentimeter offers us variety and flexibility, a way to test our students regularly in class in an informal way, and in a way that is hopefully friendly. So basically, I think with Mentimeter, tutors can increase class interaction and stress-free participation. They can track the student understanding easily and regularly, and basically they can stimulate fruitful discussion and reflection within the LSP class, so within a course like ours for Italian for specific purposes, but indeed I would say probably within any language classroom. And perhaps again, if you want, if you're still there and you want to interact with my presentation again, this is a traffic light type of slide, and maybe you could let me know if perhaps after this presentation you think you would like to try to use Mentimeter in your own lesson. Hopefully you found the activities Mentimeter can provide, can allow you to create interesting, and hopefully maybe you can start using them in your own lessons. So I don't know, if you want, you can answer the question here if you want. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I just ask, or any other question, did you look at other similar mechanisms to Mentimeter? Have you chosen this out of a field of alternatives?
So at other examples of using Mentimeters, or?
No, other similar packages to Mentimeter.
Yes, so I mean, I think it can be used potentially in any academic discipline, in the sense that basically, apart from language learning, I know that in our university they use it in all colleges, in all schools. It gives you really the opportunity to, for instance, conduct surveys, polling students' knowledge in general in all the subjects. So I think, you know, it is useful for language learning, but it can be used basically in all other fields. In my short bibliography here, I've put just 3 examples. So I know, for instance, it has been used in English for academic purposes. It has been used in business English, for instance, and but in general, I think, as I was saying, it can be used in all subjects to sort of stimulate student participation in class, to track student understanding of various points in all subjects, I would say.
Thank you. Other questions, please, on the floor. Yes.
Hi, Emanuela and Valeria from Pixel.
Hi.
Hi. I would like to ask you, the answers that the teacher received through Mentimeter is anonymous or not?
So basically, there is the option to set up the answer as anonymous or not. Normally, I choose to set them up as anonymous. So because I've noticed that maybe initially when I actually could see the student's name, so after they had answered, the slide following the answers basically would show the students in a sort of list, like, so those who got the answers right were at the top and were getting more points, and those who maybe didn't get the answer right were at the end of the list. And so I thought maybe this was not very nice, because you know, maybe those who were at the bottom of the list perhaps wouldn't like to see their name there. So there is basically the option, if you want, you will see who answered what, you will see the exact results, or if you want to use it in a more friendly way, you can set it up so that basically you don't really see the students' names, and you don't know exactly who answered what. Basically, you can set it up either way.
Thank you.